Hello and welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name's Chad, and to say I'm a car enthusiast would grossly undersell my love for cars. I was born into gearheaddom. My father owned a Mustang and a Corvette. Gasoline runs through my veins. Horsepower and torque figures fill my dreams. These are the sounds of my people. So why, you might be wondering, in all that is good and holy, have I been driving around in this? To the untrained eye, this looks like a normal, humdrum 2019 Ford Fusion in all its full-size, get me where I need to go glory. See, this Ford Fusion is a little bit special. It is not an ordinary Fusion, and it all comes down to this badge right here. This is the 2019 Ford Fusion Energi, and it is probably the last thing you'd expect a gearhead like me to be driving. Wasn't all that long ago that I viewed cars like this as, well, evil. I viewed them as the pure embodiment of everything that I hated about modern cars that were designed to sip fuel. I may have even written an article saying the Toyota Prius was the automotive world's D student. I absolutely hated them, and it was because of opinions like this that some people often accused me of actively trying to increase my carbon footprint. Since then, I have, let's just say, matured, and my stance on these types of cars has actually softened. They've actually softened so much so that today I'm here as a gas-guzzling gearhead, or petrol head if you live on the incorrect side of the Atlantic, why we as gearheads should embrace this car. Maybe not love them, maybe not all that, but we should absolutely embrace what these cars can do and what they're capable of. First and foremost, this may be a hybrid, but it doesn't beat you over the head that it is so. It just looks like a normal sedan and a normal Fusion. And the Fusion in regular guise is a particularly handsome four-door car. Sure, the wheels are a little small for it, but there's nothing really here that screams hybrid. This thing doesn't scream, I consume fuel at the same rate a supermodel consumes food. It's simple, it's, dare I say, elegant. It's just a good-looking car. It is for the type of person that wants a hybrid, understands that we as a people need to start worrying about saving fuel, need to start thinking about conserving the environment, things like that. Or it's for an individual's needs. Hey, I need to start saving money, and this car does one hell of a job of reducing your annual fuel cost burden. That sort of sweet and simple design language continues on the inside here. We have a leather-wrapped steering wheel. We have leather seats, perforated, so you have heated and air-conditioned seats that can be adjusted up to 10 different ways. You have a very simple, easy-to-use infotainment system. All the buttons are pretty much where you'd expect them to be, and they're all logically laid out. The buttons also have a very quality feel to them, so high marks for Ford there. You got all the buttons you could ever dream of needing on your steering wheel. So you have your cruise control, your radar guided cruise control, your stereo, your voice activation, your mute, volume, all that fun stuff. The center console is, again, a symphony of simplicity. You have your two digital sides, and that's pretty much it. Plenty of room for storage. I was hoping for a wireless charging pad in this little cubby here. Unfortunately, this one, even though it is the titanium top of the range model, does not have that option, which is a bit of a bummer, but you do have USB, so you can charge your phone with the traditional cable if you want. But as far as the interior is concerned, with the premium stereo, all the comfort, I mean, it is really, really comfortable. It's great. I love the simplistic, elegant interior here. There's no design for design's sake. It's just here it is. Everything has a quality feel to it. You have a 12-speaker premium stereo. It is a very, very nice place to be. So it is the next day. I have changed clothes. If you want to get yourself some of our Volvo swag, head down to the Teespring link in the description below. However, it is the next day because I wanted to do the first part of this test on all electric power. See, the Fusion Energi is a plug-in hybrid, which means we have about 25 miles worth of range on pure electric power only, burning not one drop of gasoline. Now, it has to be the next day because unfortunately at 120, this car takes a little over 7 hours to fully charge. You can drop that down to 2.5 hours by using 240. However, I know a lot of you are thinking 7 hours, that's a lot of time to go 25 miles. And if this was purely an electric car, I would agree with you. This is also a hybrid, and let's face it, when you come home from work, you pop this thing in the garage, you plug her in, and usually 7.5 hours or so later, you're still sleeping and the car's fully charged, ready to take you to work the next day. On to the elephant in the room, and that is why you, me, and all gearheads should embrace cars like this. And to do that, I'm going to give you 2 examples. The first of which is, let's face it, us as gearheads, it's very difficult to find, let's call them life partners, who feel the same way about cars as we do. I'll give you a perfect example. Hanson and Greg. They're both just as crazy about cars as I am, but their wives aren't. They're not looking for horsepower, handling, corner carving, all the stuff that we look for in cars. They look for safety, reliability, fuel economy, all of that. So a car like this makes a lot of sense for the, let's call it, car fanatic household. Our significant others will drive something that's very economical, saving all the fuel for us and our project cars. Because let's face it, my Volvo, even though it's a Volvo, isn't the most economical thing in the world. So while we get the quote-unquote gas budget to drive something fun, exciting, interesting, our significant others can save fuel in something like this. The second example as why we should be embracing cars like this is for our own personal needs. Now, if you're anything like me, your daily driver is something of a fast, fun, powerful car. You know, it's a car designed to have fun in. It's something that we're not really overly concerned with fuel economy. However, I'm in a fortunate position. My daily commute to my day job is about 1.5 miles round trip. So fuel economy isn't really that big of a concern for me. However, the average American, their commute is 15 miles in one direction. So 30 miles round trip. So fuel economy becomes a bit of an issue. I know if I had to drive my Volvo those sorts of distances, my fuel expense would be pretty painful to accept. So that's where this type of car comes into play. It can be our second car. It can be our commuter. This car, again, goes 25 miles without burning a drop of gasoline. So I don't have to worry about gas prices or anything like that if I had a longer commute, if you had a longer commute, and so on. What I'm getting at, and with both of these examples are trying to prove, is we can have both. We can have our fun car. We can have our powerful, loud, fast car, and have this as a second car, whether it be our significant others or whether it be our own personal second car. These cars serve a purpose, and that is to save all the fuel for all the fun stuff. And to discount them, to pan them as being boring, no fun, economy at all costs types of vehicles is really missing the point. The fact remains, resources, and specifically explosive liquids that make our cars sound so great, go so fast, and generally be so awesome, well, they're not going to be here forever. We have to be smart about how we allocate resources. And frankly, if a car like this saves fuel and leaves the rest of it for us to play with, that's a win-win to me. That's all well and good, but at the end of the day, this still needs to be a good car. This car can save as many resources as it wants to, but if it's a bad car, none of us should buy it, whether it be the enthusiast or the person who stumbled across this review thinking, hey, I like the idea of the Fusion Energi. I want to check it out. I want to see what's what with it. If this is a bad car, none of us should buy it. So to that end, we're going to deep dive into the Fusion and find out if it's a good car to drive, if it is worthy of gearheads and normal human beings alike. Is it worthy of their purchase? So to that end, I'm going for a little bit of a drive. As I said before, we are rocking all electric mode now, and the range is 25 miles. I'm going to meet Greg at his place of employment, which is roughly 20 miles away, and we're going to find out just how much range we can eke out of electrons alone. Along the way, we're going to find out. We're going to find out if this is a solid car, if this is a car that you, the average consumer, or the gearhead who has drunk my Kool-Aid and decided to embrace this either for their wife or for their daily commuter, if this car is worthy of your purchase. For all electric mode, we have an 88 kilowatt electric motor. It's hardly what I would say punchy. Getting off the line, it feels a little bit sluggish, but then again, we're not going for ETs here. We're going for just a smooth acceleration. Wait, I don't know if you heard that. That is the gas engine kicking on. That means we are officially out of electrons. We are now on hybrid power, which is still very economical, 43, 44 miles per gallon combined, which is not world beating, but pretty damn good nevertheless. How did we do? How many miles did we go? I got 21.6 miles on all electric, and that would have gotten me to Greg's place of employment if I didn't miss my turn back there. So let's do a little bit of review on our all electric trip. We almost got to Greg's, but we still did a fairly impressive 21.6 miles on electric power only. Now, Ford advertises 25. We didn't quite get there. However, I do believe that somebody who has a more, well, let's put it this way. We did 21.6 miles with me driving. And I have never been accused at being a economical driver. So it's pretty damn impressive when you consider that Ford advertises 25 for this car. I have no doubt that someone who has a more reasonable right foot than I do can get that 25 without really breaking a sweat. But for now, we're going to go meet up with Greg, see what he thinks about this car, and go from there. What do you think, buddy?
This is very blue. Actually, I really like the color of this car a lot.
I dig the shit out of the color, too.
Color is great.
Hey, why don't you tell me about that shirt you got on?
Oh, hey, this is a Shifting Lane shirt. You should totally buy it because it's awesome. And it's got a V70R on it, which is the best car, not Chad's C30 or Hanson's S60R. Ha ha.
Okay, so where were we before the car interrupted us? We were talking about the engines. Now, electric engine, I see nothing wrong with it. It is perfect for the task at hand. It is more than powerful enough to take you on your commute, but not so powerful that it wastes energy. Electrons. Yeah, that's it. The internal combustion engine, well, like I said, that makes 141 horsepower and 129 foot-pounds of torque. Not exactly big numbers, but keep in mind, this is a hybrid, so you get that low-end grunt from the electric motors in conjunction with the engine. The transition is seamless. You barely feel it. The only thing you notice is that suddenly the front of the car got a little noisier. And that's it. And even so, it is damn near imperceptible. This engine is very, very quiet. It's just a very comfortable driveline to begin with. And when you combine that with the great seats, which are both supportive and comfortable, they kind of keep you in place without being overly aggressive, without poking you in the rib cage, without being intrusive. And then that brings us to this car's best feature. Sure, it saves a lot of fuel, but this car's best feature, this car's reason to be bought, in my opinion, is the suspension. It is absolutely sublime. It is one of, if not, maybe the most comfortable car I have ever reviewed. It just glides over bumps and dips and imperfections in the road. You don't really feel it. Like, this car is so comfortable. Now, usually a ride that is this comfortable comes with some sacrifices. That is, the car doesn't want to be cornered aggressively. You know, think old luxury Cadillacs and so on. Typically when a car is comfortable, it kind of wants to fall on its face. It feels a little wallowy, all of that. Well, in the Fusion, that's not the case. This thing's comfortable, but rock solid through the corners. It's confidence inspiring. You have the confidence that you can kind of chuck this thing into a corner if you're looking to have, let's just say you got the wife's car for today and wanted to have a little bit of fun. I mean, it's by no means going to set the fastest lap time anywhere, but I really shouldn't be having this much fun, and it's a fun car through the corners. The steering wheel is weighted pretty much perfectly. It's not too heavy, but then again, it's not so light to where the steering feels cheap and chintzy. It is a perfect blend of firmness yet usability. That does come with a caveat. Caveat being, it in no way communicates what the front wheels are doing, apart from I turn the wheel and stuff happens. That said, as a total package though, the Fusion Energi can be fun. You can have a good time with it. It handles way better than you thought it would. And the brakes are really good too. Now they do take some getting used to, because you have your conventional disc brakes in addition to the regen system, so it does stop you in a little bit of a hurry, but once you're used to it, you can have you can have just about as much fun as you really want to in this car. It is actually really surprising. Like I said, the suspension on this car is probably the best thing about it. It pulls off the tough double act of being comfortable yet sporty, and I really, really dig the hell out of it. So at this point, it should be fairly evident that I quite like. As far as complaints with it, the only one I really could find is it doesn't have a wireless charging port, which you'd expect in 2019, but not the end of the world. And the rear trunk is actually quite small. It is so small that it won't fit a set of golf clubs. Now, I know golf clubs are a small segment of the population, but that's my go-to size comparison device to see just how big a trunk is. And if you wanted to go golfing in this car or have something of similar size, it's going to have to reside in the back seats. But that by no means should be a reason not to buy this car. This car does a little bit of everything while focusing on being efficient. It does efficiency really, really well. And it is at this point that you expect me to say, it does everything, but it comes with a pretty hefty price tag. But the Ford Fusion Energi is pretty expensive for being, at the end of the day, just a Ford. Well, I'm happy to report that in base trim, the Ford Fusion Energi is $35,000. To put that another way, that is smack on the average cost of a new car in America in 2018, 2019, and so on. Isn't a bad price to get a brand new car that's going to do an absolutely phenomenal job at lightening your annual fuel costs. So what we have here is a handsome, extremely comfortable, well-equipped car that also saves an absolute butt ton in fuel. The thing of it is we started this whole review on a premise, as we, as gearheads, should be embracing vehicles of this type. And truth of the matter is we need cars like this. We need more cars like this for the simple fact that they save fuel. And it's not that you need to save fuel, it's that they save fuel for the rest of us, so we can drive the loud, fast, fun cars and leave the people who don't really care about cars to drive things like this. The Ford Fusion Energi is a good car, and I don't mean it is a good car for a hybrid. I mean it is a good car, a great car, full stop. It does everything you really want in a car, and it sips fuel. So if you have, say, a significant other that needs a car that isn't into cars like you are, say like Greg and Hanson, whose wives really don't care about things like 0 to 60, how easy it is to heel and toe, engine note, all that stuff, it is definitely a car you should consider. It's a car you, personally, the gearhead, should consider if you're like me and you happen to drive a project car that isn't the most efficient thing in the world, and you have a pretty decent commute. Keep in mind, or remember, the average commute in America is about 15 miles in one direction. This is a great car to commute in. It's comfortable. It's got a great stereo in it. It is just a really, really good commuter car. And you can save money on fuel for the fun stuff. Just look, I know we all have our opinions on cars like the Prius, cars like this, cars that are really designed for one thing and one thing only, and that is to save fuel. I'm here to tell you, as a certified gearhead, that we need to throw that stuff out. We need to get rid of it. We need to rid ourselves of thinking like that, because at the end of the day, the more people driving cars like this means that we have more fuel to play with, more explosive liquids to make noise, to make power, to make fun. That's what we should do. That's what we should be embracing about these cars. I don't know, you might disagree with me. feel free to let me know down in the comments below. I just want to thank everyone for watching. As always, you can find us out on social media at Shifting Lanes. If you want to find me on social media, maybe tell me I'm an idiot or I'm completely off base with this line of thinking, I'm at Kennedy83. As for the Ford Fusion Road, guys, that's a wrap, and I'll catch you next time.